Hello guys, good to see all of you here. So, what we talk about this morning is something that I've seen in Parliament over and over again while we have the so-called land debate. The debate that we should not even be having, to be quite honest with you guys, but because we live in a society that is run by a Marxist-Leninist government, we have to somehow debate the people who want to justify their Marxist claims and their Marxist ideology. So let's take a look at how the map of South Africa looks, because this will put us into a lot of context in this debate. What we have here is the map of South Africa. So take a look at the color of this country. Take a look at the color of the photo from the air. Now let me take a look at something like Europe. Do you notice the difference in color between the two? Do you notice there's a huge difference in the color between the air photos of South Africa and the air photos of Europe, of Germany specifically here? That puts it into a lot of perspective what type of land South Africa is. Now, when you take a look at the arguments being thrown around in government, someone like AfriForum would go ahead and say, you know what, only 9% of the surface of South Africa was ever populated by black people, and then they would say something, yeah, but all of the land is ours even though we never settled it, and so forth. So what happened when we arrived in the Cape? When Jan van Riebeeck arrived here in 1652, he found the Khoi people there, and he bought a little piece of land from the Khoi people, or as they were called, the Bosjesmans. As you can see on this map here, it says the Bosjesmans and then country of the Bosjesmans, and then everything in pink here was what was bought there by the Dutch East India Company. This was around 120 years before any contact were made with black people. Now let's get back to the map here. So in 1770, that's around 120 years after the colony was established, contact was made with the first black tribes around Morgan's Bay. That is where the K River is, around here. That river you see right there on the map, that is the K River. The Vryburgers or trekboere who moved eastwards found black people in 1770 here at the K River. Now that doesn't mean that black people weren't in South Africa before 77. It just means that the South African colony came into contact with black people in 1770, and this was here at the K River. Now take a look at the map here of South Africa, the large map. If you zoom out all the way, you will notice the color here that most of South Africa is desert. 60% of South Africa is either desert or semi-desert. You can't live in semi-desert or in a desert if you don't have Western technology. One of the most iconic symbols that we have in South Africa, or for the Afrikaner people, is the windpomp. This is what I have on here right now. And many people know this is an iconic symbol, but not many people know why this is an iconic symbol. The reason for this being such an iconic symbol is because of the fact that the windpomp made it possible for people to farm in this whole area here, this area that is not arable, without Western technology, without having a borehole and pumping water from underneath the ground. Now, black people in general, especially the Nguni tribes, it is a well-established historical fact that they started moving to South Africa, migrating to South Africa during the 16th century. And they migrated from here, from the Great Lakes area. This is where the Nguni people originated before they moved to South Africa. And when they moved to South Africa, they occupied basically this region here in the north that is quite good agricultural land, and then here next to the coast up until here where the K River is, where we found them first in 1770. Now that is why we say that they only occupied 9% of the land in 1910, because in 1910 South Africa was made a country. Before 1910 South Africa didn't exist as a country, so saying that we should go back before that and that we stole the whole country. Before that, it would be a massive fallacy, because before 1910 we had the Boer republics here in the northwest, and we had the black lands here on the east coast, and we had the British colony in the Cape. So when the land was given to black people in South Africa, the Bantustans, 12% of the surface area was given to them. And here is a map of how it looked, how the composition looked of the land that was given to the black people. If you notice on this map where the land was that was given to the black people, and then you look at the air photo of South Africa, you'll notice that all the land that was given to the black people, or the best agricultural land in the country, except for maybe the parts here around Mafikeng, which was the Bophuthatswana lands, but all the best agricultural land in the north here, in the Limpopo province, in the north of South Africa, and on the east coast here, was the best agricultural land in the country. And this was because the simple fact, the land that was given to the black people was the land that was the highest potential agricultural land, because that is where the black people lived, because that is the only place where they were able to have their livestock and to not starve. There's no way that with African technology they would have been able to survive here in the western part of the country. And that is why we say, listen, you can't take what we established and what we settled in the western part of the country, because you were never there. And South Africa only became a country in 1910, so you can't come with these claims that before 1910 a lot of other things was going on, and that this is why the country is yours. So after this argument is established, the most common counter argument that I hear from the Afrocentric Marxists is that, you know, we were not there, but all of Africa belongs to us, or all of Africa belongs to the black people, or even all of South Africa belongs to the black people, just because black people settled on 9% of the South African soil, because they say it belongs to them because they are black. Now that would be the same logic that you would use, that someone would use, that would say, for example, all of Europe should belong to the German people. Someone who would say all of Europe belongs to the German people is exactly like the Afrocentric Marxists who claim that all of South Africa should belong to the black people. Now, let's talk about the Khoi people. So, as I pointed out before, this is what the Cape colony looked like. Let me just get that map on there again. Sorry. This is what the Cape colony looked like just after it has been established by the Dutch East Indian Company. Now, as you can see, Bosjesmans and country of the Bosjesmans, and many places here, it shows the land of the Bosjesmans. Now, Bosjesmans is what the Khoi was called by the Dutch East Indian Company, and it was also established that these parts that was bought from the Khoi people was bought by the Dutch East Indian Company. Now, let's take a look at an air photo of that. So here you can see this part here next to the mountain range, to the west of the mountain range. This is the part that was bought by the Dutch East Indian Company to farm with. This part here was settled by the Khoi people, and there was a lot of wars between the Dutch East Indian Company and the Khoi people, but that does not mean that the Dutch stole their land. It means that the Khoi mostly stole the Dutch's cattle, and that is what most of the Khoi-Dutch wars came to. Now, if you look at here, what happened here to the north of the Cape colony, when you pass that mountain range there is absolutely nothing. You can even zoom in here, and you'll see from the air, it's miles and miles and miles of absolutely nothing. There's nothing here. Nobody can survive here. Nobody can survive on 60% of this country without having a boreal technology, without the wind pump that was brought here by the Europeans. If you want to go to a place that can actually be survived without it, then you're going to have to go to the east coast. Here you can survive without a boreal because there's a lot of water here and it's green. It looks like a place that can be farmed. One other fact that has to be named is that only 3% of South Africa's surface area is high potential agricultural land. And then let's take a look again at the land that was given to the black people, and you will see the best land in the country for agriculture was given to them, and that is where they still reside today. So I'm going to leave you guys with this then, that what we have here in South Africa is a debate of greedy Marxists who wants to take away all of the land for themselves, and they have no facts. Sorry, I'm going to wait for those birds. They have no facts to back them up on that. They have no facts to back up the fact that they say that the land was stolen. The land was stolen is a massive fallacy that is being perpetuated by people who are drunk on ideology, who just wants to take the land because that's what their National Democratic Revolution documents say. That is what their plan from the start was. As our current president Cyril Ramaphosa said, we will boil the white people like a frog, but we have to do it slowly so that the white people don't jump out of the pot. And that is their end goal. It's not to take reparations from what was stolen, because that would be totally ridiculous. It's just because they want to establish collectivized farming. They want to establish communism in its full in South Africa, because they are old school Marxists, and it's because of out of a sort of a hatred for the white people who have settled there on the western side of the country. So this is something you can share with your people. You can share it on whatever platform you want by clicking the arrow at the bottom, but you can also talk to people and tell them, listen, simple as that, we have the facts here. Black people only occupy 9% of the country in South Africa, and if someone tells you it's a lie, then you can just point to how South Africa looks and to the desert of South Africa, and you can, without being a racist and saying that black people are stupid, that's why they didn't have Western technology, but just looking at the plain fact that they didn't have Western technology and thus they were unable to survive on most of South Africa's surface. If you just have these facts, then all of their arguments don't make sense at all. And that's what I want to leave you guys with. So thanks for watching, and be sure to share this and to leave a like and a comment. Goodbye.